Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And today, because it's the first day in a week, which it's the weekend now, after a week of me spending all my time looking out the door and out the windows at the glorious sunshine out there. It's now the weekend and the weather's horrible, or it looks horrible. So I'm going to review a comic book about snow. Just because why not? And it's Behemoth. Now, I say this straight off the bat because I think Behemoth, like the fact that it's put out by this company is worth discussing. I talk quite often about the fact that the creator-owned indie comic book labels can get away with doing quite a bit more than mainstream kind of thing. But even like the indie ones I talk about, like Scout, Vault, Aftershock, and what have you, they are still answering to market forces, just like everyone else is, and they still have to put something out which is marketable and is going to sell. Behemoth don't seem to worry about that quite so much. They've done a few. They've done like the Hotline Miami, which they got the license for, and Girl Who Walks Alone at Night. And I think that's been enough to kind of put them on the radar for a lot more people than they would have done otherwise. And as a result of that, they've been able to really kind of hammer out some absolutely top-notch oddities. You Promised Me Darkness is just a weirdly drenched noir horror. And then Freak Snow, should I say? The full title, Freak Snow, Revenge is a Drug, Happy Tank Issue 1. That's the full title. It's just as weird, if not weirder, than You Promised Me Darkness, but almost completely devoid of any kind of noir or darkness. And it's not just because of the style of the artwork and the colouring, but it is more your light colours, greys, even the coloured bits you've got in the blue and the red there, they're kind of overly swamped by the lighter colours. I mean, to give you an example, I'm going to pull this back so you can't really even see that much detail, but you can see the colour palette used is so washed out and so thin. It's effective for what they're doing, it really is, but it kind of pulls totally away from any kind of darkness from it, even though it's an exceptionally dark story. The biggest thing I'm going to say about it is it has some oddity plays with the idea of an unreliable narrator. About halfway through, it was reminding me of the Joker movie, actually. It's very early in the Joker movie, the character, Fleck, has, I don't know, that's a dissociative disorder event. I'm not entirely sure of the term, but effectively he starts hallucinating. And you find out that is something he's hallucinated. They don't keep that from you. But I have spent the rest of the movie wondering, well, how much of this is going to be real? We already know that Fleck is able to totally convince himself of reality which isn't real, and it plays out on a few different things. When you get to the end of the movie, though, I kind of realized that they were using it as a storytelling device rather than anything to do with how mental illness like that would work. This one isn't quite that. It's somebody who had a mental breakdown 8 and a bit years ago when his wife and daughter died. And even how they died seems to be a cause for some consternation amongst his friends, which are literally a beer can he talks to and a GoBot. And he spent most of his time seemingly high on a concoction of very strong alcohol and the blood from some monster which killed his family, or so he believes. Because this comic book is set in a kind of post-apocalyptic frozen hellscape, the idea of a giant monster eating people was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. But just because he had the break 8 years ago doesn't mean that everything that's happening in the world that we're aware of is all part of the reality. It could all be his own mental break. He's reimagined his entire past. So far, we've not met any other living human. There is kind of like a backstory bit where it talks about all the people he's captured and killed because he's there to defend women. But we don't know, again, if any of that is real. Or if maybe he has done those things, but he's not done it in kind of frozen hellscape. He's done it to just random people he's seen down the pub. I'd like to think that come the tail end of this, we are going to get an answer to it. But it leaves so much open and so much to be explored that I can't help but feel the ending might not be satisfying. Because I'm not entirely sure what would be satisfying. I couldn't tell you. Everything that's happened so far in this year's comic book will lead to a story ending where I'm like, that all makes sense. That ties together. That's a lovely little way of showing the effects of trauma on somebody. I don't know if it's going to be a better ending if it is all in his head, or if it isn't, or if some of it is, some of it isn't. I'm going to have to kind of wait and see. But until that point, I feel very confident that for people who want to try something that comic books are capable of doing, but so many people and so many publishers and creators steer away from, something totally off the rails, then I think Behemoth is a fantastic company because they are doing it. And I'd recommend people looking for something like that to check them out. Anyway, that's it for today, and I think my last one for the week. I'll be back on Tuesday. Check out a new comic book video then. And you know what? Tell all your friends about us. We're cool.